It's day 9 of 14 days thinking about Anne Boleyn, and today we're thinking about this in-between time where she's a mistress but not a mistress, leading up to the divorce and her eventual marriage to Henry VIII. So we're thinking about this time from sort of 1527 up to 1532. So in 1527, as we looked at yesterday, Henry is writing to Anne, and it seems like at some point in this year he's proposed marriage and she has accepted. Also in this year this is when he tells Catherine that he wants a divorce. Well, he wants to be separated from her, he wants an annulment. It also seems that probably in this year, as part of this proposal, she suggested to Henry that if she were his wife, she would be able to give him sons. And this is where later on this massive snowball effect happens of her being accused of witchcraft, which doesn't happen in her lifetime. It's something that's misconstrued, but he later goes on to complain that she'd almost prophesied or predicted that she would give him sons, and that's kind of misconstrued as something witchy. But it seems like this is the year. This is when she, for whatever reason, felt very confident she would be able to give him some heirs. In 1528, she's away quite a bit. She spends quite a bit of time at Hever Castle, firstly because she catches, as we said yesterday, she catches the sweating sickness. And yesterday we looked at sort of the letter that Henry wrote to her while she was ill with that. So she's at Hever with this. Henry does send his physician, etc., etc. But also when the cardinal comes from Rome to try and sort out the annulment, Henry also sends her away at that point as well. So she spends a bit of time away from Henry in 1528. In 1529, we see a relationship between her and Cardinal Wolsey deteriorate. So at this point, Cardinal Wolsey is still very much Henry's right-hand man. Cromwell's not really on the scene yet. She starts to get fed up with him, and that feeds into the way some other people think about him. And as we know, at the Tudor court, as soon as someone's on their way down, they all circulate like vultures, ready to pick these people apart. So people really see an opening. I'm not going to talk loads about Wolsey today, but they see an opening to bring Wolsey down here. And it has been suggested that her possible part in his downfall, and Cromwell kind of came from Wolsey. Cromwell had a lot of respect for Wolsey. That was what initially kind of caused not a great relationship between Anne and Cromwell later on, that he maybe saw her as being the reason for Wolsey's fall from power. In 1531, things are going quite well for Anne the Boleyns. Catherine's been dismissed from court and she's in a strong position at the moment. Her brother George has been made one of the two noblemen of the Privy Chamber. Her father is Lord Privy Seal, so she's got two men at court in her corner. And Catherine is still alive, which we might think to be a bad thing, but some historians have suggested that actually while Catherine's still alive, anything wrong can kind of be blamed on her. So again, that kind of cements Anne's position and favour with the king. But it's in 1532 that things are going very, very well for Anne. Firstly, the king is spending a lot of money on her. This is increasing year on year. In the Tudor period, people didn't give Christmas Day gifts, they gave New Year's Day gifts. That was the tradition then, and it was, you had to give one to the king. So Anne's actually bought it. Henry didn't have to pay for his own this year. Anne has bought it. She's bought him a set of boar hunting spears, and he's bought her some lovely hangings for her bed, like the drapes, kind of 4-poster bed style gold ones. He's also spending a lot of money on her clothes, and there are a lot of talks of marriage at this point, and it's like she's being fitted for a royal wardrobe. Now Henry wants to go on a bit of a jolly to France. He wants to go off and see his Francis I, King of France. He wants to take Anne with him. But in order to do that, he wants to make her give her a role that's befitting someone being on the king's arm that isn't just the mistress. So he creates a noble title just for her. Now she becomes the Marchioness of Pembroke. With this, she gets a yearly allowance, she gets a load of land. But what's really important about this, I think, is the fact that these titles and this land will pass to her heir, whether they are legitimate or not. So she suddenly got some assurance that if she gets pregnant by the king and they're not married, her child is going to be cared for. She's not going to be, some poor disgraced woman living in poverty. She's got this title, and no matter what happens to her, so she thinks, this title will pass to her child, whether or not she marries the king. So she's now in a really decent position. She's being seen as someone important. She's starting to get requests for patronage. So she's being, viewed, whether people like her or not, she's being viewed as somebody, somebody to know. So off they go to Calais to see Francis. And I've talked about this trip before, so I won't go into a load of detail now, mainly because we mostly know what Henry got up to, and this is about Anne. So they're off there in the September 1532, and she spends 10 days being treated like royalty. And what a strange moment that must be for her, considering she was there as a young woman or child assisting, and now she's there as almost like a queen. So she spends 10 days there. They take their time coming home. Leisurely journey home. But at some point towards the end of that year, probably around the November, she decides, after all these years of saying no, Henry, she's going to say yes, Henry. So at some point at the end of that year, she becomes pregnant. All sorts of reasons are discussed as to why now, after all these years, has she suddenly agreed. Some people say that if she became pregnant, that would give Henry the final push he needed to sort out the marriage. Personally, I think, considering what a doting mother she was to Elizabeth and how she worried about her and her family at the end of her life, I think that this assurance that her child would have a title, illegitimate or no, may have had something to do with it. Purely personal opinion there. So we'll leave Anne there at the end of 1532, in the very, very early days of pregnancy. And I'll see you tomorrow when we're going to think about weddings and coronations. See you then.